Hey everyone, what's up? My name is Chana. Welcome to my channel. And this is a new series I'm starting called the Wonderwomen of Tanach. And talking about different really super awesome, powerful women that are mentioned in Tanakh and some lessons that we can learn from them. So today I'll be talking about Abigail, or Avigayil in Hebrew. I'm going to use her Hebrew name, Avigayil. And you turn to the book of Samuel, the first book of Samuel, or Shmuel, chapter 25, and that's where her story begins. So just to give you a context of what's going on, David was just anointed as the next king of Israel, but he was not yet king. So what happened was the story starts off talking about a man named Naval and his wife Avigayil, and it describes Naval as being, not the nicest person. It doesn't say very good things about Naval, but it says wonderful things about his wife, Avigayil. And actually, she is one of the four most beautiful women in Tanakh. The other three would be Sarah, Esther in the Purim story, and the third one and then number three is Rachav, who I'll be talking about next week, Hashem. And Avigayil is number 4. So what was going on was David heard that Naval had a very wonderful season of sheep and abundance. He was very wealthy, and there was a big sheep shearing ceremony, and which is very common in biblical times, that it's a very big public celebration. And, it's a very giving celebration. So David heard what was going on with Naval, that he had this abundance of livestock and was having this big celebration. And what was common in biblical times was you can go and ask for some gifts. So David had every right to ask him for what he asked for. He sent some attendants, and they asked in the most polite way, really, really nice way. They asked him, they said, peace be upon you, peace upon your household, peace upon all that is yours. And they said, can you please give us some gifts from your celebration to David, who is the next king. So normally in biblical times, how someone would respond who is having this big happy celebration for having so much wealth and abundance is sure, of course. But Naval, who was a base person, a wicked person, said in a very negative way, no, I don't know who David is. And he said, why, he said, why should I give what's mine and give it to you? I don't even know who this person is. That's basically what he said. You can read the text inside. So what happened next was David heard about this, how he was being very not generous, and he wanted to have him killed. Avigayil, who was this righteous, wise, intelligent, one of the most beautiful women in the world, she actually got food together, sweet food. She got wine, and she went to go meet David without telling her husband Naval what she was about to do. And she met David, and he was angry. He wanted to have him killed. And technically, he did have a right to kill him because he was a king, or he wasn't yet king, but he was anointed as the next king. And Naval didn't obey him when he asked him for something. So technically, he did have a right to kill him. So Avigayil explained to David with her wisdom and actually backed him. She backed him up, and she saved his life. And she said, listen, Naval, my husband, is exactly as his name is. The word Naval comes from a word called Nevala, which means like disgusting or repulsive. So she said to him, that's his name. He can't help it. That's who he is. And she explained to him, forgive him. He can't help it. He is just this kind of person. And then Avigayil went on to explain that he was just starting his kingship, and not to start it with blood, not to start off his rulership with killing. And he agreed with Avigayil. He thanked her for her wisdom, And he did not kill Naval. Avigayil saved her husband's life from David. Abigail returns back home to her husband and didn't tell him a thing. And he was sitting there eating and drinking and indulging because Naval, that's the kind of person he was. He was a very base person. And she didn't tell him what happened till the next day. And it says in here that he was stunned. He was shocked. But he was shocked that she would actually give him gifts. But guess what happened? 10 days later, after this whole incident, Naval passes away. You know that feeling when like you want to do something or you almost say something and then you think better of it and you don't do it? And then later you're like, oh my gosh, thank God I didn't do that, or thank God I didn't say that, you know? So that's kind of how King David felt. Anyway, he marries Abigail, and that's basically the end of the story. So what can we learn? And that's something always to ask when we read the Torah or we read Tanakh, because it's always this very deep lesson for us, and there's always layers and layers of lessons to learn and that we can apply to our lives. So I think it's very different for everybody. I think everyone's going to hear something different and take a different lesson from it. But I'll share with you one thing that I heard. With Abigail, she kept her good mitos. She kept her good character traits. She was still this gentle, kind, giving person. She did not change who she was. She did not stoop down to that level of her husband. She kept her high level. She kept her high level of wisdom and her high level of kindness. In a marriage, it's so easy to spiral into dysfunction because one spouse maybe has a certain character trait that doesn't fully match with yours, and then you kind of lower, and then they kind of lower, and you're just reflecting back on each other and just going down, 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 down. But you have so much more power than you might realize because you keep yourself up here. You can hold on to yourself. No, you can't, nobody's gonna like drag you down. Don't be dragged down by your environment and by the people that you're with. In any kind of like interpersonal relationship with other people, you can still keep your high mitos, you can still keep your high, like your character. You can keep who you are. Like it's such an important lesson not to give in, not to lower yourself. Like if everybody's gossiping in the office, not to stoop down to that level and gossip with them. You can always come up with things to say or ways to get out of the situation. You know, use your wisdom, use your intuition. I think that's a major important lesson to learn from Abigail. So I hope that you learned a little something from this video, and make sure to subscribe. Next week we'll talk about Rachav. Super awesome. She is really cool. I love Rachav, and I'll share with you her story next week. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out. Take care. Bye-bye.